Hey guys, it's Bryony. So I went on my Instagram today and asked you guys what you'd like to see in today's video, and I saw a very interesting comment which sparked the idea for this particular video, which was a lady saying that she had struggled to use tampons or was currently struggling with them, but was very interested in menstrual cup and didn't know whether it would work for her because she'd had problems with tampons. And further down the comments, someone else had sort of replied to this message saying that they had struggled with tampons but were able to use a menstrual cup and were encouraging this lady to persevere. Now, that particular comment reminded me that I used to have a few problems with tampons myself. I would find that if I inserted them, sometimes they wouldn't be put in quite the right place and I'd feel them and it would be quite painful. I vividly remember one time when I was at school and I was sitting in biology and I hadn't put my tampon in right, and it was just so painful I had to go and take it out, and just, really not fun. And the other problem I used to have with tampons was if I inserted them, sometimes I'd find that about 5 to 10 minutes later I would really need to pee, and I'd go to the toilet, and no matter what way I tilted my pelvis or held the string out the way, I would always end up getting urine on the tampon string, and I could not bear the feel of it when I had a wet tampon string and I pulled my underwear up. So I had to take the tampon out after this. So, and that gives you like a dry sandpaper feeling. The same feeling that some people get when they hear like nails scraping down like a blackboard or chalk on a blackboard, that kind of shivering feeling. That is what it used to do to me. Years since it's happened to me because I don't use tampons anymore, but I can still remember how horrific it was. I did not like the sandpaper syndrome. Anyway, and that was one of a few problems I used to have, because I have a low cervix, which basically means that the cervix is sort of like the entrance to your uterus, and mine sits quite low, so I don't have a very long vaginal canal. So I used to try and insert my tampons up higher, and I couldn't do it, and I didn't know why. Of course, at the time I didn't realise because my cervix was low. So what I would do is I always use the applicator tampons, and I'd put the whole first part of the applicator inside, then I'd hold the second part of the applicator where the string was coming down and just literally pull the first part off so it was just inside my vagina, and that was why it sometimes was uncomfortable and I couldn't ever push it up because it was just this dry thing trying to be inserted into my vagina. But anyways, those are my problems with tampons, but I am perfectly able to use a menstrual cup and I find it so much easier and better to use than a tampon. So I figured I would use this video to sort of share my top tips for those of you who have struggled with tampons but are keen to use a menstrual cup or are interested to know if you could use a menstrual cup. So I have here with me the Lena cup. This is the small Lena cup. It has got its stem cut off because, as I said before, I have a low cervix, so I don't need the stem. The main difference with a menstrual cup and a tampon is that, aside from the fact that a tampon absorbs menstrual blood and a menstrual cup collects menstrual blood, the tampon, you leave the string hanging outside of your body, and with the menstrual cup you put the whole cup, including the stem, which was like this little flexible extra bit that's added onto a cup, must be inside your body. Nothing is outside of it. So because my cervix is low, I've cut the stem off because I don't, otherwise it would be hanging outside my body and that would be very uncomfortable. So make sure the whole of the cup is inserted inside your vagina. So when you're inserting a tampon, you might either do it by hand or with an applicator. When you insert a menstrual cup, you need to fold it. My first top tip would be to try different menstrual cup folds. So there is the two most common ones, which is the C fold, or the U fold, we sometimes call it depending on which way you hold it. I personally think this one, if you struggle with tampons, this is not really going to work for you. I recommend the punch down fold, which is where you push this cup in here. And then there are also other ones like the 7 fold, which is where you flatten it and then you pull one corner down to sort of make the number 7. It may or may not be backwards on my camera, and then you insert it that way. It's quite a flat fold, this one. You can also do the triangle fold, which is basically exactly the same as 7 fold, except you fold it all the way down to the corner. I have a separate video specifically on menstrual cup folds, so if you want to go and check that out, have a look at my channel. But that would be my tip number 1. Try different folds and see which one you think is easiest to hold and easiest to insert. My second tip would be use a lubricant. It must be a water-based lubricant with a menstrual cup because oil-based ones can damage it. You can get KY jelly though from pretty much most supermarkets, and it's not too expensive, and that's one you can use with a menstrual cup. You can also use Yes lubricant, or if you have 100% pure aloe vera gel as well, you can use that too. But make sure it is 100% pure because you don't want any other stuff in there. It might irritate your skin because your vagina's pH level is very sensitive. So smear it all over the cup. If you're doing the punch down fold, for example, this one, which is the one I use most often, I would usually take the lubricant, smear it all over the rim here, along the top, specifically on this little bump here. Make sure that's really covered, and I would always insert it with that side of the smooth side of the cup, not the folded side of the cup, facing towards my urethra, so facing me when I'm inserting it, because if it pops open and it was to hit your urethra, that would be quite painful. But if you do it this way, there's no sensitive nerves that side, so it's just a little, I use it as like a safety mechanism. Consider it like a seat belt in a car. It's just there for precaution. So use lubricant and use it generously. Also try smearing some on your own body around your vulva. That will help as well. And if you do it when you're on your period, you'll naturally be quite lubricated anyway because of the blood. And you can practice before getting your period, but I would say it's definitely a lot easier to insert it when you're actually on your period. So just bear that in mind if you do try it on what we call like a dry run, which is when you're not on your period, that it may be easier to do when you're actually menstruating. The third tip is patience. It can take a good 3 months to get used to using one of these and get the hang of it. It is a new product, you just have to get used to what works for you and your body, and just practice really. If you don't get it in on the first day, maybe try the second day, or if you're a little bit sore, you might need to leave it for a day or two, but that's very rare that that would ever happen. So just remember that it might take a few months to get into the hang of using one of these things. My fourth tip would be for anyone with a condition like vaginismus, for example, where your vagina actually tightens and rejects having anything inserted into it. First of all, consult your doctor, because it might not be advisable for you to use one of these. But second of all, if you do want to use one, I would probably recommend using a softer menstrual cup, just because it is a little bit easier to insert. The downside to this will be that a softer one might be a little bit harder to remove when you actually come to take it out, because your muscles will possibly grip it tighter. But I think it would be better than using a strong suction cup, because then, sorry, a stronger cup, because they develop quite a strong suction, and that might make it even more difficult to pull out. So I would definitely recommend a softer cup for those of you in that position that are keen to try. But also, again, remember patience. It takes people without those conditions quite a while sometimes to get the grip of using these, so it might take longer for you. But just be patient and persevere if that's something you really want to try. And just remember that, you know, these things are safe. They can be left in for up to 12 hours. And just see what works for your body, and if you like it, then great. So I really hope this video helps you guys. Like I said, these tips are sort of things I've mentioned in other videos before, but I really wanted to have a video specifically addressing those of you who had struggled with tampons, or do struggle with tampons, but had learned about menstrual cups and were keen to know whether you've thought that they might work for you. So I would definitely say you can give them a go. Choose a cup that's sort of in the middle, like a medium resistance, like the Lena or the Ruby cup. Are quite good ones, the Lunette as well, and then you should be absolutely fine, because they have a medium resistance, they're a regular sort of shape, and they're sort of easy to get to grips with. But use lubricant, that's the biggest thing. You'll find it so much easier to insert if you use lubricant, and you won't end up hurting yourself or anything if you do as well. And like I said, in the future you might not need to use it anymore, but certainly at the beginning it'll make your life a lot easier. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please subscribe. Don't forget you can get menstrual cups and cloth pads on my website, Precious Stars, down below, and I will see you on Friday. Bye bye.